was Stephen. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
So I'll call you Nancy.
Okay.
No, Stefan. Stefan it is. Look, I just want to ask, what do you think of this? I mean, we in America had so many of these things totally beat that maybe people were not getting the vaccinations very much, not seeing them as necessary. And then, as you say, we let all these kids come in across the border who have had no vaccinations coming from nations where they were not beat. And now we have a problem. Could that have been part of it, or?
See, that's what I'm thinking. You know, the most illegals nationwide is in California, and this is where it's been cropping up the most. Another thing is yeah, there's the anti-vaccination people, and then there's the vaccination people. And the way I feel about that is the same thing you were talking earlier. Is if those people don't want to vaccinate their kids, fine, but their kids shouldn't be allowed to come to school because measles is there's a 90% chance you can catch it from somebody else. It defeats the purpose if everybody doesn't get vaccinated. But the other thing being, you know, I haven't seen the anti-vaccination people. Some of it is just really heartbreaking. Some of these people believe it, you know, because they want to find something of why their kids have got autism or something like that. I've had a friend that her kid real bad autism. She's anti-vaccine. She completely believes it's the mercury content. But I don't. I think there's other stuff that probably would have made me sick just because they used to give us those type of, how would you say it? You know, when they drilled your teeth, I used to get the metal mercury type stuff put in my teeth. Yeah, I'm old.
I guess the point here, though,
Could you get AM when that happened?
I could get shortwave. I got shortwave radio really well.
Okay. I don't want us to get off track here. I think that the purpose here is to talk about how to talk about vaccines, not what the vaccines are doing or not doing. I'm not a scientist. None of us are scientists. We don't know. We're guessing. I put a link in the chat to a discussion on the Conservative Union that Leslie started about herd immunity if people want to know more. But the important thing is to stay on track about how do we talk about it, and the issues of control by the government are ones that I think we can get people to resonate with, that the decisions ought to be made at the most local level is something we can resonate with and that people would agree with, and that the governor and the presidents shouldn't be involved in this kind of decision at all. And I think that's where I come down. I hope that's where everybody else is, sort of leaning.
Well,
and encouraging us to be always be clarifying, because it's too easy to get confused and to blur the line between should and must. People should get vaccinated. Should there be a law? Probably not.
Okay.
People should recycle. Should there be a law? No.
Okay, devil's advocate here. Because I too, my preference is, yeah, I'll get the vaccines, but I prefer not to force parents to do what, I don't want to tell parents how they got to raise their kids. But what about the fact that if they, aren't we risking a spread? Because if you leave it up to localities, then in those ones that do and don't, it could spread from there to other ones. I mean, couldn't that endanger other locales?
Again, I don't really think that that's something that any of us are really qualified to talk about. I mean, it's certainly an issue that should be discussed and debated, but I think that we can all agree that it's not something to discuss on the presidential level, on the national scale.
And the fact that Cori was talking about how the science is sort of divided and partisan on the issue. That's all advocacy all the time. There's not any, I guess, detached scientific writings on it that she can find. We can speculate what if all we want to, but we're not even going to get a source that people agree on.
Right. Isn't it an awesome topic to use for distraction and diversion?
And that is perfect.
That's what happened here.
Yes, it was.
No, Stefan. Stefan, that's what Fishy just said. We got completely distracted by the issue of vaccines when really all we needed to talk about was how we talk about it. We don't need to talk about the actual substantive issue of vaccinations because, again, none of us are scientists.
Yeah, I understand it, but what I'm saying is they've said that the Republicans are the kooks and that we're the issue, when, no, that's not true. Kennedy, who's a Democrat, one of the that was just left office not too long ago, he wrote a book on it last summer, being anti-vax. So why are they calling it all Republicans?
Because that's what they do.
Because that's how they.
There's 2000 and then there's 2008 Hillary Clinton saying that this should be researched and studied. So I think we have to be quick to attack back. The
thing is that we shouldn't attack back. We shouldn't attack. We shouldn't defend. We shouldn't do anything about it because it's not a national subject, and it's not going to be if we don't make it.
Well, I'm talking about on a local level. I'm talking about what a presidential candidate should say is, except for Rand Paul. Well, I'm not a doctor, so I leave that as the state's issue. Let them decide what they want to do.
Right.
If you're a Republican, that's what you would say. If you're a Democrat, say, well, we'll try to figure out a law for it, for everybody nationally.
Templeton brings up something great in the chat again. It is talking more about the vaccines than ISIS, beheading, and then burning someone alive.
Yeah, I saw that video. Horrible.
Okay, so I don't want to, but we need to get back on priorities.
Yes, we need to talk about Jonathan Chait and political correctness. That's what we need to do. Oh my goodness. All right, now that we're finally done with the vaccines, we need to talk about this because it's beautiful. There are a few things that I enjoy more than watching the left attack itself, and there are few times when we actually get to see it in progress. I always point out my favorite video ever of all on YouTube that features this kind of lovely, when you get into political correctness, you have a radical feminist and a transsexual, and they're going at it, fighting about like some stuff that nobody has any idea of because it's all like funky and depending upon who your women's studies professor is and who your gender studies professor is, this is not something that's settled at all on the left. There are lots of fights, and political correctness, it's beautiful because the left is attacking itself now. There is a really great, and this is coming from a leftist piece about political correctness and how it is hampering the development of the left. How it's preventing people who would be their allies, preventing people who might become Democrat activists, be involved on the left, preventing them from joining. Because they can't get through a meeting without being chastised. It's amazing. Some of the examples that the guy gave were that he couldn't. There were black males who couldn't get through a meeting without being chastised about how they feel about homosexual marriage. Discussions about also gender inequality, all sorts of things. And it is amazing because this guy, Jonathan Chait, got hammered immediately after writing this. The left just, people from Salon, from Mother Jones, everybody just sort of said, there, get him, and they went after him. The zombie horde of the left, Tumblr, everybody is after this guy because
he's a white male and he used his white privilege to criticize. It was absolutely hilarious.
He dared to go there. He dared to say, okay, we might be going a little bit far with this political correctness stuff, and he just it's amazing. And I hope, the thing that would be just beautiful is if somebody on the left in the presidential election stepped out of line. If they started to violate their privilege, if they started talking about stuff, if they have an errant comment here or there, to see Tumblr, to see HuffPo, to see all of these guys on the left fringe media, And that's, this is where it is. But that's what the left pays attention to, is the fringe media, the Salon.coms, the Mother Joneses, the Tumblrs. To see that, the pushback that would happen if Hillary Clinton were to pull something like this, it would just be amazing. It would be amazing to see what happens, because this poor guy, this Jonathan Chait guy, who I'm sure we disagree with on 99% of the issues out there, he came out against political correctness and he got crucified.
Well, and here's what happened. Sean Davis wrote a response, and then Jonah Goldberg cited it in his piece that I linked in the chat. He says, I'm glad Chait has suddenly decided that speech policing is a terrible idea. He's only a couple hundred years behind the times, but better late than never, I suppose. Unfortunately, I don't think he's all that sincere about it. In fact, I think he just opposes speech codes when they're used against him or his fellow travelers. And I think that's right. I don't think that Chait, when he wrote what he wrote, actually went into, oh, hey, maybe we oughtn't to apply this the other way. Maybe we oughtn't to, go after people in general about political correctness. Maybe we should just reserve that for attacking the right. That seemed to be where that destination was headed with Chait himself. And so all sorts of people on the right have been enjoying some schadenfreude over that.
As well we should. We absolutely should. We should take a moment to point this out, and point this out to as many Democrats as we can, and we should instigate. We should do exactly what they do. We should point it out, and we should have them fight, because you know what? That's what's important. It's so much better to have them, because we on the right fight for nothing. We look at each other funny, and it's immediately, you're a rhino, no, you're a rhino, no, you're a rhino. We disagree on like the most minute policy thing, and it's war. But this is actual, hatred. This is visceral hatred that the left has for one another on these subjects. And it's just, it's amazing, and I hope that we capitalize on it. We need to be out there, and we need to make sure that the left pays attention to this as much as they are already. We need it to be a big thing. We need Melissa Hines Perry putting on some anti-Chait earrings. We need all sorts of stuff happening. We need Toure talking about this on whatever show it is that he's on now. I want to see Cenk Uygur, invite on a ton of different professors and have this out, because it is beautiful and it hurts them, and this is demoralizing. This is when you don't want to work with your allies because of this stuff, and they are not allies. They are so completely opposed. If you're talking about the African American community, if you're talking about the gay community, if you're talking about all of these different the radical feminists, if you're talking about these groups, which we are, they do not naturally like each other. They absolutely do not naturally like each other. They are somehow put together because of the glue of liberalism and progressivism that helps pay for the stuff that they like, and they stick together when they have to. But when you see these cracks, when they start to show, they show big, and it is absolutely something that we need to push.
There were a couple of great quotes from Jonah's article, as is usual, because Jonah is just eminently quotable. And he said that pragmatic liberalism claims no ideological principles save the greater good. It has few defenses when its ideological principles are attacked, particularly from within. And that's why it's so powerful. They've been proclaiming that political correctness is some ideological principle, and it never was. And so now when it's being attacked from within by guys on their further left, the whole facade is crumbling. And another point he said, if good is simply defined by what liberal people at any given moment think good is, all questions become contests of power. And Jonathan Chait is used to being the powerful branch of liberalism, but he isn't anymore. The powerful branch of liberalism is now the LGBT community, the feminists, and the real radicals, and they're turning against him, and they're exercising their power